Alright, so I'm a little late to the game on getting this done, but putting in a visual screen here along my bean food plot today. I came in here and sprayed last week, and it looks like the plants are dead, but I'm going to come in here with a brush cutter and clear a path. But I'm going to plant some miscanthus that I got from Justin Repke of Wildlife Management Trees. And the problem I was running into last year is this CRP right here is so short that the deer, they would just come on the outside of the food plot, see there's no does in there, and then they would keep on walking. So what I want to do is have a visual barrier where they got to come to the food plot and investigate to see if anything's in there. Alright, so here's what I got going. Whether it's going to work or not, I don't know, but I've had these roots sitting in the refrigerator, so they stay dormant, and I took them out 2 days ago to kind of give them to acclimate them a little bit, because I didn't want to throw them out here in the heat going from a fridge to 75 degrees. But and it looks like they're starting to shoot out here. So normally what you do is you dig a hole. I'm using this bulb auger attached to the drill, and normally what you do during early spring when they're not sprouting out, you can just throw them in the hole and they'll grow out themselves. But since these are kind of already shooting out, I'm gonna have to lay them like that with the shoots up, and you want to plant them about 2 to 3 inches deep. And recommendation is you do a foot apart and then staggered rows. So you're going to do a foot by foot spacing with those staggered rows too. So it's not going to be bad. I only got about 800 of these to plant today, so hopefully help shows up here shortly. But we're going to get started and hopefully be done by dark.
Okay, so I just want to go over a few of the species of shrubs that I'm planting this year. First one, American hazelnut. Great shrub for deer browse, nut production for voles and squirrels and deer and the whole gamut. You'll have a hard time beating the critters to the nuts. It's also grows right by rhizomes. So you plant it and the root system gets established and it starts making its own thicket. Okay, let's see. Next one we got right here, Arrowwood by Burnham. Another great shrub, clonal, rhizomatous, so it grows. It'll make its own thicket. Has a real nice bloom, and they call it arrowwood because of these straight shoots that come off of it. Whether the Indians ever made arrows out of it is debatable, but you could try it. Another big advantage to these is they have clusters of kind of blue fruits that turn into it's almost like a raisin, and the birds love them. They're edible for yourself as well. Same thing with hazelnuts. This one right here, buttonbush. It prefers more wet soil than the other two. These are more of a mesic to dry soil. So mesic means medium, not too moist, well drained. This can be planted somewhere that floods, that actually holds standing water. Buttonbush do pretty well. They got a real high pollinator value. Highly recommended if you got wet areas and on your property and you're looking to fill them in with something. Okay, got wild plum. These are some beautiful wild plums, by the way. So that's another, it's a thicket forming shrub. It starts from the first one and it'll clone outwards. They almost make like a dome shape. And great pollinator value in the early spring. They're going to produce plums that are about that big, about maybe the size of a golf ball or a little smaller. Great eating if you can beat the critters to them again. And yeah, so fantastic for upland game, fantastic for food plot screens, what have you. Silky dogwood. same thing. You know, these all have a little different bloom times, but it's got a great bloom on it. So if you can have blooms throughout the season, you're going to have more bugs, which means more birds. You're also going to have more fruits, etc. Dogwoods will clone by the roots as well, so they're all can be thicket forming shrubs. They're fairly easy to control if you plant them too thick or you get out of control with them, but they're going to be a lot better than your invasive shrubs. So deer love to eat the foliage on all these. So that's about as good as it gets, guys. That's what species I have today. So just figured I'd give a quick sum up. Just figured I'd show you. Steve and Justin from Wildlife Management Trees have some great stock. So, for example, it's a 3-gallon pot wild plum. Right here next to it, this is a wild plum as well. That's been in the ground for 4 years. It came as about an 18-inch bare root seedling. Really, I thought it was pretty good stock, but man, you can't beat that. And if you look, it was topped right here. This is all new growth from this year so far in the pot. So, got another one here. So this is a 9-bark I planted right here. Planted it same time 4 years ago. And they were actually a little bit bigger, maybe 24-inch stock. So you can see we're at about chest high. I mean, this one is already taller. This is a 9-bark. And if you look, this is all this year's growth. I mean, there's 4 foot of growth there. So they got some great roots on them. So I'm going to show you the correct way to plant a shrub, but we're going to move over to a different spot. This is going to be for, these are all wildlife shrubs, but this is going to be for, here is a screen, a permanent screen for my food plot, which is right behind you. Okay, so in this spot, this is a 9-bark. It's actually got a bloom on it here. But dig my hole twice as wide as the pot and every bit as deep. And then you spend some extra time loosening up the soil around it. Make sure you don't have smooth edges. You put a bunch of gashes in the side. Those roots need to branch out. But twice as wide so it kind of catches some water. The next thing you're going to do is squeeze the pot a little bit, pull your shrub out. Now, look at those roots. That's great. We like to see roots like this. But we don't want them circling, especially right here at the bottom. You really got to worry about it. And any on the side. So what I do, good old dull knife. It's got a little serration. Just give her a few slices. Get those roots broken up. Come all the way up the sides. You're not going to hurt it by doing this. You're going to help it in the long term for sure. So just give it some slices. Grab some of these down here and just fluff them up. They've been living in that pot and they are competing with each other. And if you don't get the circlers, it will girdle the tree. So now that it looks like this, we just put her in, fill in the hole. Also, the other thing I do is this pink flagging. That's really going to help you find these, not have your dad bush hog them off. I've had that problem. And I also think this flagging, especially when the wind's blowing, the deer don't want to mess with it. Other than that, I'm going to fence this one. But if you can find, you can see what's behind me. Don't mow it all down. Just go in there, plant, tie some flagging on it, and then come back and spray it down after it starts coming up. Just spray a 3 or 4 foot ring around them first, second year, and shouldn't have to worry about it. But that way you aren't creating a pathway that the deer are going to come through and nip all your leaves off your trees. You're just kind of isolating them and just kind of hiding them right into your early sessional habitat or whatever you have. So that would be the correct way to do it. And you'll notice Some shrubs are going to have worse circling roots than others. It's real bad on, say, oak trees that are grown in these round pots. So just make sure you correct the problem before you plant it. If you just plant it, you're going to have problems down the road. Okay, one more tip for when you're planting these trees or shrubs. Don't plant them too deep. I'm going to show you right here. You want a little bit higher than what the container was. The root collar is where basically your branches and roots come together at a common point on a lot of these. Don't bury your root collar. It's okay to leave some room for settling, an inch or two, but this is your root collar right there. See that red tag? Make sure you take those off too. But you can see, got a couple inches of, it's gonna rain tonight. Soil will settle. Don't bury those root collars. So this is a red osier dogwood here in front of my house. I just wanted to show the growth form of these shrubs. Great for wildlife. Not only the deer love them, they love to browse them. You guys probably heard of red twig, dogwood, whatever. The browse pressure's on the outside. You have all that in there keeping the plant itself alive. So that's kind of unlike a tree. When you hit when they get the terminal bud, it'll really mess up a nice looking tree. Another advantage is a lot of these, they grow by rhizomes. So those are roots that shoot out in the soil and make new sprouts. And so this clump right here is exactly what that is. The main shrub is actually another 8 feet back in there. So you're actually going to get a growing thicket. Game birds, that's what I like to manage for. I manage for upland game here on my farm, and the deer love that I manage for upland game. But this gives them a place to not only winter cover for catching snow, or somewhere to hide when all the grass gets flattened. It also gives them, a lot of these shrubs, fruits and nuts come off of them. You can see this one's in bloom. The flowers attract pollinators, bugs, that's brood rearing. And it also gives, especially quail and pheasants and even my chickens in this one, gives them some thermal refuge. And I'm not talking winter, I'm talking summer. It gives them a shady spot where they can lay down and loaf during the day in the heat of the day. So just a few of the advantages of shrubs, and I don't know why you'd ever plant too many trees without having shrubs incorporated.
We have launched a limited release of hoodies and hats available now on our website. These pair great with camo and may help bring the luck you need. If you're looking for a new hat or hoodie and would like to support Team Radical, check out team-radical.com/shop.
Serious land managers do everything they can to grow and harvest the biggest bucks possible. Maximizing herd health is part of any good management plan. Real World's exclusive Expect Healthy Deer technology is a true game changer. Developed by professional animal nutritionists working with captive deer breeders, Expect Healthy Deer technology can help your herd by enhancing the immune system, repelling insects, improving survival from disease outbreaks. This is going to lead to increased fawn production and antler growth on your property. To learn more, you can visit realworldwildlifeproducts.com.